right. Miss
Okay.
Lani, would you like to start us off?
Yeah. Okay. So everyone on here is probably, got a junior or a senior, and you are looking forward to the whole college application process and what that's going to look like. So I will start us off with a lot of general things. And then go into common application. And then Diane's going to really hit on a lot of the scholarships and grants and how all that looks. So, and then just go ahead and type your questions in Q&A and we'll get to those at the end, all right? So when do you start applying to colleges? Everything. I always tell moms, pretty much everything takes place in the fall of the senior year. Don't think I've got the whole senior year to do this, because pretty much, everything is going to happen in the fall. Okay, deadlines in the fall, especially early decision and all of the grants and scholarships that Diane is going to go over. So she's going to fill you in on specifics. I'm going to go over a lot of the general things. So you're going to start in the fall. Early in the fall, start looking at this stuff, and don't wait until like November to even start thinking about colleges. To tell you the truth, we looked at colleges, and the time to really look at the colleges and narrow it down is the summer before the senior year. So those of you with juniors, you will want to know that a lot of things happen at the end of the junior year. Looking at colleges, doing those interviews and all that kind of stuff, so that by the fall of the senior year, you and your student have a pretty good idea of the colleges that he or she wants to apply to, okay? So on our website, and I am going to share right now. Okay, so you should be seeing our website right here, right, Diane? Applying for college. And so if you go to our website, click on academics up here, and then on high school, we've got all the info for you. So what I do is I go down and click on this applying for college tab. So, you don't have to think, oh my gosh, what did they say in the webinar? Let me watch it again. We've got all this on our website. We've got our CEEB code that you're going to put for ACT, for, colleges. This is our high school code right here, y'all. Very, very important to put that on everything. And then we've got some tips on here when completing college applications. So you list HLA as your high school, and be sure and fill your student in on this, because the students are the ones who most of the time do the applications. So the moms know this, but the students don't. So invariably they're going to put homeschool, and then what the college is going to do is pull out their whole homeschool packet, which does not apply to them. So remember, private school, we are a private school, so they are going to list us as the high school on college applications. And then really one of the only places they list homeschool is FAFSA, which Diane's going to cover. So we provide recommendation letters. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. We provide the official transcript. Moms, don't go try to print off a report card and send to the college, okay? We provide official transcripts, okay? So another thing that I see moms doing a lot, and I don't like seeing this, because the moms apply through common application, which I'm going to totally go over in a few minutes. But it's just, it's a way to apply to multiple colleges at one time. So a lot of our students use the common application, and it asks in the common application the name and email address of your counselor. They're going to list Diane at Home Life Academy. She will get an email letting her know to fill out the common application for this student, and then she's going to email you, mom, what she needs for the recommendation letter. So what you don't need to do if you do that, is go ahead and put in a rush request and pay the $15 rush fee for us to send transcripts to all those colleges. It wastes your money, our time. Don't do that. You don't need to request anything. We will do that if you put her name and email address as the counselor. Now, some of the colleges they aren't on the common application. You're going to apply directly, and maybe that college says, we want the official transcript mailed. Then you will put in a request in your account, and we will mail that. Every now and then, for rush deadlines, they will say you can email it to us and follow up with one in the mail. And we can totally do that as well. Whatever they need, you let us know. But please don't fill out the common application and then go and request that we mail all those. It's totally not needed. Okay, so, and in the common application, as we'll see, you don't have to worry about knowing all the deadlines. You're going to see all that. You're going to see all the college deadlines. There's no magic deadline. It depends on the college, So you'll know all that as you go, and it's not something we can necessarily tell you, okay? Now, recommendation letters. There was a link on that other page to recommendation letters. Remember that? So we can do these through the common application. And again, when you need one through the common application, you don't go into your account and request one. You could, but you don't need to, because when Diane gets that notice, she will send the mom an email saying, this is what I need. And basically, moms, if you want to start on those recommendation letters, we want it to be personal. We want them to be strong, and don't be afraid, to make it over the top. Like, my student is the most wonderful student you'll ever have. And then we will tweak it. It will come from us, but it's going to have all that information. It needs to be personal. They do not want a list of what's in the portfolio. So, for example, I remember when I actually wrote it as the guidance counselor for my son. That was a rare case when they accepted it from the mom as the guidance counselor. And, I just got to put how he really was. I knew how he was. I knew his strengths. I didn't list everything in the portfolio. We were sending that, which I'll go over the portfolio too in a second. But, they want to get really an inside picture of who your son or your daughter is. So you can do that, and for example, when I've done a lot of recommendation letters, I will pull up the portfolio. I'll pull up the transcript. It looks good, looks strong. I'll pull up the portfolio, and you should be working on those, and it will look good. It'll be fine. Or sometimes there's nothing in it. And then I'm like, I don't have a really good feel for this student. And that's how the college is going to be. But then I have the mom write the recommendation letter. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can give this student my strongest recommendation, and that's what we want going to the colleges. We want them to read those letters and go, oh my goodness, we want this student, and we will offer him our top scholarships. That's the whole goal, right? And so you write these letters, we'll tweak them. Don't worry about that. But you just write from your heart all their things. I even put for my son, because I knew, he's a little bit standoffish. He's not going to get out there and brag on himself. He's just pretty humble, and didn't like being the bright shining star or anything when he walked in the room. So I let them know that. You let them know about your student. Are they a little bit shy when you first meet them? That's fine. They just want to know, but you know, you want them to know, like I let them know, even though he's not going to come in as your bright shining star, he is that slow and steady candle burning, and he will get brighter and brighter, and he will stand if everyone else falls. I knew that, you know, so you just let them know about your student and from your heart. And so that's going to really make a big difference. I love, love, love the recommendation letters. Okay, so let's go to Apple Core. And these are all of our fake students here in Apple Core. So when in the fall of the senior year, before you ever request a transcript, you are going to make sure that everything is up to date in Apple Core, okay? And so, you know, let's look at Apple Core here, and we will look on Margie, for example. Oh no, okay, let me log back in. You know how Apple Core logs you out? Okay, so let's see if Margie's up to date. Okay, so 21-22, she's got her plan in here. Looks good. She's got honors English. Okay, guess that was the only year for honors. And we might, when we're talking to you, the parent, make sure that, you know, that was the only year, because we want everything to be perfect when we send it out, all right? So then what we're going to look at is, you know how you can go to this little summary tab, and it's going to tell you all the credits earned, the unweighted GPA, which you are going to need for college applications, and the weighted GPA. Now she has just a little bit of a weighted GPA, you'll notice, because she just has that one honors, okay? 12th grade, she's got this listed. DE will be weighted as well, the dual enrollment, okay? And so she'll end up with a weighted GPA. However, everyone pretty much goes by the regular GPA. If you want the weighted, say the regular GPA is like a 3.9, but the weighted is a 4.4. You know, when you request transcripts, put that in there, that you want the weighted on there. The other thing that you can request that you cannot get in Apple Core is class rank. So if you request class rank, and you will request that from Diane most of the time, or myself, we are going to look and see if we have any tests, ACTs or SATs. No, we don't have any for Margie. That means that she has not taken the ACT yet, or you didn't list us as the high school, which you've got to do. So we will have to get that from you. If there's no test, there's no class rank, okay? And in that case, when we are doing the common application or filling out scholarship, we're just going to say we don't rank. We can't rank that student, okay? But otherwise, we will give you an exact class rank of where they stand. Okay, so let's go back and look at, I know that Jackson's the only one that has anything in his portfolio, and it's not a lot. So moms, work on these portfolios, okay? So Jackson's mom needs to work on his portfolio a little bit. You know, he took a programming class, okay? He won a ping pong competition. That's great. If he's got any other extracurricular activities that he does, and sometimes we give you hints on what you can put in there, but you can look at these. Look at the transcript and go, okay, so the basketball, swimming, ping pong, any other awards, achievements in those? He's got something about computers, I think. Did he, you know, what did he do in there? You can expound a little bit on what's in here. Work experience, you might want to put that in the portfolio. carpentry, there's things in there that he does, that he's achieved. You could put those in the portfolio. Now, Jackson happens to be life choice. So in Apple Core, you're going to choose their path, okay? And for most of you, it's going to be the College 4. But we're going to look at these paths and go, okay, this is a life choice. We wouldn't necessarily expect to see test scores, but in a College 4, we would expect to see test scores, and we would expect a really good filled out portfolio. His, not so much, but his mom can still do a good portfolio for him, okay? But for some of these, like, let's look at Margie. See, she's College 4, no test scores. We want to see test scores, and maybe because of COVID, she's going to be taking the test this fall. Okay, and I would suggest early rather than late. Okay, so make sure everything's in here before you request that transcript. Okay, and it looks like she's pretty well up to date, but she doesn't have anything in her portfolio, and you would need to work on that. Okay, now let's go to comment application. Lots of our families ask about this. So you just can go to the commonapplication.org and you can set up a practice account. That's what I did. Even students can set this up if they want to, and I know there's a way to transfer it over, but most of the time students just set up their account. Moms, however, beforehand can set up a practice account. See here, this is my practice account. And so this is my dashboard, and then I want to go to the Common App. And this is where you're going to put in all your information and everything, okay? Activities, the test, put all that in there, which I haven't done because I'm not really a student now. But you can look at writing. Some colleges require essays, and this kind of goes through what they're going to want in an essay and the essays that you can do. Now, I just clicked the topic of my choice, but your student might want to choose the topic that they have here, and it'll tell you exactly how to do that. And they put the essay in here that will go to the colleges. And you can put courses and grades in here, but your college is going to tell you if they require that, and lots of them don't. You're going to be sending a transcript, and it's going to have the courses and grades. So you can search for colleges, and you will do a college search. It's listed in alphabetical order, or you can filter. You can even filter colleges that have no fees. And about 49% of the colleges in the Common App do not require fees. If they do, and you know that you got a fee waiver for the ACT, you can get a fee waiver for the colleges, and we can approve that fee waiver. And so anyway, you can filter colleges whether or not they require a letter of recommendation, if they require standardized tests, if they require an essay, or if they've got fees, all kinds of different stuff that you can filter. But you might want to know the college, and then you just put it in there. All right, so you're going to select all your colleges. Once you do that, they're going to be in your list. Now, right now, I have not added any colleges. I don't have any in my list. But once you do select them, they're going to list them, okay? And they even have a little thing over here, financial aid resources, which Diane is going to cover, but they do have a lot of information in here as well. So this is the Common App. Once you or your son and daughter fill out the real Common App, they are going to send us an email. They will send Diane an email, okay? saying that, you know, Margie Carey has applied and listed you as the counselor on the common application, and she will log in and there she's going to be. It's going to have all her colleges. It's going to have what they require. And then Diane's going to go, okay, you know, Belmont requires a recommendation letter. So then she will email you, the mom, and say, you know, one or more of the colleges she's applied to requires a recommendation letter. And she's going to basically let you know what to put in that, and you will email that to her. She'll tweak it, she'll change it, she'll have it all ready to upload to the Common App along with the transcript. Hopefully it is all ready because you're up to date in Apple Core. Everything's in there. Test scores are in there, everything. Now, we are not going to upload the portfolio automatically through Common App. In fact, it won't really let us upload that with the transcript. Sometimes I will have a student who they really want their portfolio, will attach it to the recommendation letter. So that's the way that we can submit that. Let's see here. I think I've about covered everything. Let me stop sharing. Okay, so that is an overview of everything that you need to do as the mom, that your student needs to do, and that we are going to do for you. And remember, all in the fall of your senior year. And now Diane is going to really get into some detail on these things for us.
Right. Oops. Great. So glad to see you all here. Can you hear me, Lani? I might check.
Yeah, I can. And I'm going to start answering some questions.
Okay, great. So again, if you have questions, there's the Q&A box at the bottom. And I know I've already answered several. And now while I'm talking, Lani will be answering some as well. So that's a good place to get questions answered. So I'm going to get into some of the nitty gritty, you know, I always think of it as the more boring aspect of applying to college, all those little things that you just have to do. But first of all, before I do that, I just want to say to y'all moms who have seniors to take care of yourselves too this year, because it is a big transition, not just for the kid, but for the mom as well. So something just to kind of think about and plan for what your life will be like when this student flies the nest, as they say. So,
and I will just say that Diane is really aware of this. Her only son has flown the nest, and so he is well aware of what that
yes, definitely. And it is an adjustment. It really is. So, so let me go ahead. I'm going to share my screen here for a minute. Let me get, make sure that this shows up okay. So first of all, actually, I think I will go to, where's my screen here? All right. So can Lani, is my Word doc up?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. So the first thing I want to mention is, and this kind of just echoes what Lani had talked about relative to making sure that your Apple Core is up to date and correct. One thing that we absolutely don't like to do is make changes after it has already been sent out to a college, because that just kind of can affect the credibility of the transcript in your school. If, you know, at one point we have this listed as what they did in their sophomore year when they were in 10th grade, and then all of a sudden another transcript shows up with a completely different 10th grade year. So please do make sure that it is up to date and correct before you send it. And one of the questions that kind of goes along with this applying to college is, where does my student stand relative to credits? So you want to as well check your credits for your student. In their 12th grade year, they will get a transcript, or actually we call it a graduation review at that point, which will show you how many credits they have, how many credits they still need. Let me show you an example of how you can look at that for yourself. So I'm just going to go over here for a second and, oops, where's my, All right, let me just open up here. Oops, not correct here. So, Lani, can I get you to go to Apple Core real quick? I'm having trouble getting over to that one.
Yeah. Okay, let me finish this question. Hold on.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So we have a credit summary button that is fairly new in our Apple Core, and I'm just going to let Lani show you how to get to that. Then we'll go back to the other pages that we're working through.
Okay. Let's see now. Apple Core. Let me share. Forgot about that. Hold on, Diane.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so we're looking at Margie, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what you want to do when you log into Apple Core and you see your students page right here, you're going to see high school review out here, or if they're a senior, graduation reviews, okay? So let's just go to Margie, and you're going to see all of the reviews that have been done, and you can click on those. Or what I do all the time is go down to the current credit summary. If you have not done this, do it. It's awesome. So it's going to give you, get this out of the way. I don't know how to move this out of the way. Move this little thing in. Okay. So it's going to show you like English, 4 are required. She's completed 3. She's taking 1 right now. The little asterisk means that she is taking that. Okay, great. She needs 1 math, and she's taking that as well. She needs a half a credit in health. She's taking it. Personal finance, she's taking it. Does not need any additional electives. We know that she is good to go. And you know, too, that she's got all the bases covered. So isn't that neat? What else do you want to say about that? I'm going to click on detail, Diane.
Okay. Really, that's it. Just so that you will see that, you know, you have an idea of what they've done and what they still have to go. Again, the credit summary button is just as accurate as whatever that you have in Apple Core. So another reason to kind of keep that up to date, and whatever they've got going on right for this semester will be that asterisk. So that's something to show that you're on track. Sometimes there's a little bit of confusion because, for example, a student may show short electives, but additional core courses also count as electives. So if you listed them, like let's say they have 5 social studies credits and you listed them all as social studies, that summary will show that they've completed 5 social studies credits, but maybe they're short 2 on electives. But you'll know, you know, that those just get moved down, okay, for that purpose. And we do that in the transcript reviews or the graduation reviews. All right, let me give this a shot again then.
And did you want to say right here is that another thing that we always check for, so moms, you be sure as well, that in the social studies, you know, it might be showing 3 social studies versus 3.5, but we do have to make sure that one of those is U.S. history. You
Absolutely.
know, so that's something that we have had a couple moms overlook. And but one does have to be U.S. history. In here, it's all going to be grouped together though.
Yep. And we've actually had colleges ask for that. I mean, I never thought that that would be an issue, but they've actually asked to see that the student had done or confirm that the student had done U.S. history in high school. So it is something important that we do. So, all right. All right, well, let me go ahead then and get back in to my screen share. So the first place I'm going to go is back to our website, because that's really where we start with so much of these. So one of the things that I want to talk about first is the FAFSA, and I'm just going to put it in the little search button up here, because we always get a lot of questions about this. So the FAFSA is the Federal Financial Aid. It is something that is required for most scholarships. So all the time I will have parents will say, I know we're not going to get any financial aid, but your kid might get a scholarship. And lots of the scholarships require that you fill out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid as well. So it is something that you want to do. The FAFSA opens October 1st. So it is typically recommended that, you know, the earlier you get that done, the more potential monies there might be out there. So I wouldn't like wait until the spring. I always put it on my calendar and I do it the first couple of days of October. So, and you do have to do it every year. So even though you do it for them when they're a senior in high school, they have to do that every year of college. So it's something that when you do it, it's very important that you keep your login information and your passwords, because it's a pain if you come back the next year and you have to figure all that part out again. So I've got ours posted on the bulletin board up behind you. So with it, again, it opens on October 1st. I suggest that you get that in as soon as you can. It doesn't technically close until June, but once again, the earlier the better. Now, here's the thing on the FAFSA that sometimes can cause some confusion for folks. On the college applications, like Lani said, your school is Home Life Academy, okay? We are your school. But for the FAFSA, you're homeschooled. Okay, and that has to do with it being a federal application, etc. So when you're filling this out, and it is asking here, this example, what will your high school completion status be? You're going to choose that you're homeschooled. All right, so you want to make sure that you list that you are homeschooled, and then you're going to skip the question down here when it says, you know, what is the name of your high school? Where's the city of your high school? What state are you in? You're just going to skip all of those. All right. Now, I know last year there were quite a few folks who called in and said it wouldn't let them proceed without those. So here's the thing, sometimes it glitches. And actually when I was filling ours out, we got stuck in a loop right there and we had to call in to the FAFSA help desk, and we got on some online forums and it was doing that. It was glitching for most people at that time. We just came back and then it went through eventually. So I guess if you just see something, don't panic and don't automatically assume that you have done something wrong, because sometimes it's the system. It can be that it just glitches. A lot of people are on it, and it just did that last year for several times. So just again, you are homeschooled. Seniors should do this as early as possible after the October 1st date. It's required for a lot of scholarships, and basically they are using your previous years, it's almost like 2 years previous financial information that you're going to do. So you don't have to wait until you do your like taxes or anything for the 2021 school year. So be aware of that when it comes to the FAFSA. Keep your login information. You'll need it every year. Let me see if I can go to a different page here, if this will let me do this. Lani, can you see my Google?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Okay, so here's one website. This is just some FAFSA tips. So if you want to kind of go over, look at some common mistakes, look at, you know, too many spaces, make sure you get your social security number correct. Don't use a kid's nickname, got to use their official name, all of this stuff. So this page is just a good reference. And then also at the bottom, it's going to say there's a chat, you know, there's a help section to FAFSA, and it also gives you an 800 number that you can call. There's live help online, etc. So if you run into any issues that are really, really specific, that is something that you want to look at. I like this FAFSA checklist here, where again, it's kind of, these are the things you need to gather prior to opening up the FAFSA. You want, you know, and this is you, meaning your student. And when you're doing this stuff, they are considered I guess the person, their social security number, driver's license. For the parent and the child, they're going to want, the W-2 forms, information on taxes, any untaxed income, well, you won't have work study if you're a senior, but just kind of current bank statements. They're going to ask how much money you have on hand, all that type of stuff. So it is helpful, and it's much less stressful if you look at this website prior to actually going to begin the FAFSA. So again, general information, keep it every year. It opens October 1st. List yourself as homeschooled. If you have any questions on that, pop those in the question section, and Lani will be looking at those as well. Okay. Now, next I want to talk about some other things as we're applying for college, and the next one is the ACT. So let me go back over to Home Life Academy. All right, am I on the Home Life Academy page, Lani?
Yes, you are.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to keep checking. Sometimes
I know.
it does not work. So I'm just searching college entrance exams right here. I can see the ACT, SAT, CLT, and this is the information. If your student is going to a college that requires an ACT or SAT, you want to get on that pretty quickly this year. You want to make sure that you list Home Life Academy as your school. Because if you don't, we don't have your ACT or SAT scores. And if we don't have those, we can't provide class rank for you if that is asked. So the ACT has been kind of changing it up a little bit, and they're going to have you locate our school by listing the address or the zip code. So Home Life Academy is located in Jackson, Tennessee. And so you should be able to find us in a drop-down menu when you do that. We've got our SEEB code there, and then clicks where you can go to register for the ACT, the SAT, or the CLT. The CLT, if you're not familiar with that, is a classical learning exam, and it is getting more and more popular. At first, I saw it mostly with private Christian schools, and now I've been seeing it in other schools as well. It is more aligned with like a classical learning curriculum, so that's something that you might want to be aware of. So when you go to this page on our website, you can click and get to the places where you sign up for these. I will say the ACT website, I don't know, it seemed like pretty cumbersome. It took us a little while, so don't get discouraged. Go ahead and get in there and leave a little time so that you don't feel pressed when you're doing that. If you need fee waivers for the ACT or the SAT, you're actually going to contact Kimberly at homelifeacademy.com. So if you have any issues where you might want those fees or be able to qualify for those, contact Kimberly. And for those folks who need accommodations, let me see, I thought that was here too. If you feel like you might need some accommodations on the ACT or SAT, so for example, here we go. You may need, maybe your kid has a certain disability where they need extra time, or maybe they need a stop clock so they can make sure that they eat every hour, whatever that is. You're going to be working with Crystal on the accommodations, and that's CRYSTAL, and she can help you complete all of that forms, etc., that they need to apply for those accommodations. Just because you apply doesn't mean that they're always accepted, but that is the place to start. Crystal can also let you know if it's something that in the past has been, those types of accommodations have been approved or not. Okay. If you have any other questions about the ACT, SATs, go ahead and put those in the Q&A, and Lani will be nabbing those. And next I want to talk about the general scholarship search, okay? So basically, and I'll go ahead and I'll pull up one of our pages here, and with Home Life, I'm going to go to high school, scholarships, etc. And so there's some things on here, reminders about recommendation letters, FAFSA, and there is some scholarships that Home Life Academy does offer. The Reagan Student Leadership Award, actually that's an award, not a scholarship, but actually that is on hold due to COVID, and that comes out of California, and so they've put that on hold. They didn't do it at all last year, and they have not made the determination about this year. So there's some information in some of those that you can look at as well. But a couple of things that I want to talk about is, once you know your student's ACT score, and Lani showed you how to look up their unweighted GPA, most colleges have on their website where you can look up specifically. There's a chart. It's like, oh, my student has a 23 on the ACT and they have a 3.5 GPA. That is going to be a, I don't know, presidential scholarship, and they will tell you how much money that is worth at that time. So you can get some ideas about scholarships that are just kind of like automatic. If they apply and they have that ACT, if they have that GPA, here's how much the college is going to give them. So make sure that you take a look at that. Also, once you're accepted at a college, some colleges will then actually grant you access to a scholarship page, and they will have a list of scholarships that your student may or may not be eligible for. And so you might want to take a look at that too, to see if the college that you're interested in, or maybe you've been accepted to, if they actually have a page or a place with scholarships that they recommend that their students apply for. So those are good as well. One thing about scholarships, some of them are, are pretty substantial. Some of them are $250. And what I've seen is some students say, oh, well, it's only $250. But if it only takes you 30 minutes to apply, that's like, what, $500 an hour if you kind of average that out. So even the littler ones are going to add up. And sometimes they have less competition than some of the really high dollar ones. So I do encourage you to look at those as well. When you're looking at those applications and applying for scholarships, one thing I did, and this just kind of depends on where you are with your student, but as Lani mentioned, the fall is big, with applying to colleges. Some colleges start opening their applications as early as, September and October. Some of the early deadlines are November and December. So this gets going pretty hot and heavy during the fall semester. So I actually, for my son's English 12, which high school English with home life typically includes writing or composition and literature. Basically, I let the composition portion be writing essays for scholarships. So it was kind of something I was kind of counting as a school as he was doing it. And I think that helped because, you don't want to have them have so much on their plate that fall semester and their senior year that they're kind of getting overwhelmed and freaked out by that. So something that you might want to consider. Other scholarships, there's a book called The Ultimate Scholarship Book 2022, comes out every year. It is on Amazon. If you look it up, just The Ultimate Scholarship Book. I have not used that one personally, but I've had some folks have good success with that, just listing the scholarships that are out there and the contact information. So that is another place that you might want to look at. And then clubs, employers, churches are also ones you want to look at. So let me give some examples. If your student is involved with some sort of organization in high school, so my student was very involved in Boy Scouts and was an Eagle Scout, etc. So actually applied for, and there was a Boy Scout scholarship available in our district. So that was something specific to his interest. Sometimes there are local clubs or organizations. Maybe there is a outdoor club in your area. and sometimes they will offer a scholarship. Sometimes that does take a little digging locally. They don't always put those out there everywhere. So you might need to dig a little bit to look at the ones that are available. Other ones might be your employer. Some employers offer scholarships for the students of their employees, and even some places students work may offer some scholarships. So if they work at a grocery store and they've worked there part-time for several years, maybe you check with that grocery store and see if they offer scholarships as well. So those are things that you can look at. Home Life Academy also has some scholarships. We have an HLA Overcomer Award, a Special Achievement Award, a Young Entrepreneur Award, a Sue Parkinson Memorial Scholarship. So you want to look at some of those opportunities as well. So it doesn't have to be as overwhelming, as certainly it's a little work. You know, I kind of think of it, you know, as kind of with my son, we talked about that kind of being like a job. You know, this is your job. You can earn money this way by applying for scholarships. You can also, when you have narrowed it down or got to the couple of schools that you think you're going to attend, talk with the financial aid office at those schools. I know some colleges have different scholarships, like if your kid has done a lot of volunteer work, they have some sort of volunteer scholarship, and maybe they get so much money and they also have to do a certain amount of volunteer work while they're in college. So there's all sorts of things out there once that you start digging. And even after the freshman year, there still can be other scholarships through your college. So, you know, when your student is actually there for their freshman year, they should also, sometimes there's departmental scholarships that, you know, are offered to sophomores or juniors or something like that. So be aware of that. The other thing I'm going to mention is when you're looking at scholarships or talking to colleges about scholarships, you want to make sure they're not front loaded, I guess is the word that I'm kind of using, because there are some scholarships that, you know, maybe your kid gets all of this money and it's really, really great, but maybe a whole lot of that is just for the freshman year. And then you go to their sophomore year and maybe half that money isn't there anymore because it was just for freshmen. So you just want to be careful when you're looking at your final awards or financial aid, et cetera, that you're getting from the college. You want to see if some of those scholarships are good for all 4 years or if it's just good for the freshman year. So you can make a better decision for a long-term basis. All right. So now, are you able to see my Word document now, Lani?
No, not yet.
Not yet? Oh, maybe I didn't do that right. Maybe I have to stop and get back. So let me get back over here. All right. And all right, here.
There we go.
Okay. So there is, and if you look at www.collegefortennessee.org, money for college, learning the lingo. This is going to have a lot, and I'm not going to go over all of these, but if you look at that, if you are really new, maybe you're a first generation college student, you might want to look at what all the terms that people use when it comes to college. You know, what is early decision? What is expected family contribution? What is, you know, when they say dorm, what does that really mean? Or what's an advisor? Do we need an advisor? What's the difference between a major and a minor, et cetera? So that website kind of helps you get in on the lingo that you're probably going to start hearing when your student starts working through this process. But there are a couple that I did just want to make sure that I covered. And the first one is grants. Grants. So if you get some sort of an award letter from your, you know, from the college, so at the end we get some sort of letter that says this is how much basically aid and awards your student is going to be eligible for. If it's a grant, if they list something as a grant, that is typically something that does not need to be paid back. Okay, so a grant is free money. Doesn't have to be repaid. Usually it's due to financial need. It's based on your family size, how many students are in college. It may include the Pell Grant, which, you know, is again based on financial need. In order to get a lot of those, you have to do the FAFSA. And some of those amounts do change every year, but a grant is good because you don't have to pay it back. The other thing that I noticed in the award letters that I know confused some parents is where it lists loans. So what it did in the award letter is said, here's how much the college costs, and here's how much your student is getting in grants and scholarships and loans, and then here's what's left. Some of the people saw the loans and thought that was part of like the package. A loan is a loan, meaning that it is something that you have to pay back, and it typically does have interest. All right. So sometimes the way that is listed in the award letter, it almost looks like something your student just automatically gets. But if it's listing a Stafford loan or another type of loan, those are actually money that is borrowed, and it typically has to be repaid with interest. Now, some of them might be lower interest rates, but just, you know, be sure you know what that letter is saying. I've had a couple of parents who thought is like, wow, I only have to pay, you know, this much. And then when they started realizing that part of that award was a loan, they weren't willing for their student to have a loan at that point. So something to be aware of. Scholarships, that's also free money and doesn't need to be paid. And these can come from a variety of sources. I've mentioned several of those before. Some of them are financial need-based. Some of them are academic achievement, community service. If you're an athlete, some schools, I've worked with several students who've applied for the music department, or maybe they play an instrument that's rare and they may get a scholarship for that. So that's something that also. A work study, get a drink here. A work study allows you to receive funds through part-time enrollment while you're at the college. And then you kind of can use that to help pay part of the cost. So work study is usually something that is tied to the FAFSA as well. So you do that, and then your student may qualify to work a certain number of hours of work study at the college. And you still have to work with the college on, you know, solidifying that. Work study can be really good, you know, depending on what jobs that they get, because sometimes it really is that. If they're working in an office, a lot of them may actually, you know, say, you know, if you're studying or if you got a big test, we'll take it easy, you know, you don't have to do much today, just answer the phone, or how's your workload? So those can be really good opportunities for the students as well. So when you're looking at your financial letter that you get at the end, once you've been accepted to a college, they've looked at your transcripts, your scores, your applications, your essays, all that stuff, they're going to send you a letter and outline what it costs and all the money that you are going to get or maybe eligible to get. Okay. One other thing I want to mention is on the what the college costs. Not every college is the same, if that makes sense. So for example, some will kind of group other line items into the expense of college. I looked at some colleges where they actually included in the cost of college, like how much travel expenses typically a student had, and or how much additional spending students needed. And of course, that's going to vary a lot depending on where you live and what your typical spending habits are. So that is something to look at as well. Regardless of where you apply, what you're doing, once you graduate from Home Life Academy, you're going to need to give them your graduation transcript. Okay, so you request the transcript when you're applying, or you do that through the Common App like Lani talked about. The other thing is, once you graduate and you're done with high school for good, you need to send that final transcript to the college as well. They want to see the final one that says you're graduated. Okay, so don't forget that when you get all excited about, I'm done. What I'm going to do now is talk a little bit more about some scholarships that are specific to Tennessee. So this may or may not apply to all of you. So I just want to mention these since we do have a high percentage of folks in Tennessee. The first one I want to mention is the Tennessee Promise. The Tennessee Promise is what you've probably heard of as like the free 2 years at a community college or trade school. And you have to begin that application, or you have to have it turned in no later than November 1st. The application is available right now. It's open. You can go in there now, and it's under your TSAC student portal. You would log into TSAC and go in there and complete that process. So 2 things about that. Number 1, they are very unforgiving relative to the deadline. If you miss November 1st, you've missed it. Okay, so I would go ahead and do that. The other thing is, unlike like the ACT stuff, this is pretty quick and simple. Okay, it doesn't take long at all to apply for the Tennessee Promise. So I would go ahead and do that. Lots of times I'll have parents who will say, one, they might be adamant during the summer or before the senior year that my student isn't going to college, or on the other side, I've had parents that are adamant that my child is going to a 4-year school. They've had it planned for, for years. This is what they're going to do. So so what they tell me is they're not going to apply for the Tennessee Promise. So I just would like to encourage everybody to apply for it, whether you think you're going to need it or not, because life is crazy. I have talked to those same parents 6-8 months later when they're like, oh, now it's like March of the kid's senior year and they do want to go to community college, even though they never did. Or, maybe things have gotten crazy. Maybe there's personal things going on at home and the student isn't going to end up going away to that 4-year college after all. They need to stay local. So I always think of this as like a little insurance. I just encourage you to go ahead and do it. The FAFSA, as I mentioned, it opens October 1st, but for Tennessee Promise, you need to have it done by February 1st. And then there's some mandatory meetings that you need to attend and some volunteer or community service that you need to do as well for that. And then don't forget to apply to the colleges also. Okay. The Tennessee Hope. All right, so the Tennessee Hope is the lottery scholarship that we have. So, and there has been a big change actually in this that was just effective July 1st of this year. So prior to July 1st, homeschool students had to have, or Home Life Academy students had to have a composite ACT of 21 to be eligible for the Hope Scholarship. Well, there's been some changes there. So if you get that, you're good. So if you have a 21 or higher composite on an ACT or the equivalent on an SAT, and that is not the super score, that's a score in one sitting, you're good. But let's say that you have a student who is really, really bright, but really, really struggles on timed tests or, sitting for those hours at an ACT or SAT. So let's say they don't get the 21 on the ACT. They may still qualify for the Hope Scholarship if they have at least 2 dual enrollment courses that total at least 6 credits, and they have a 3.0 cumulative GPA in those courses, okay? And in Tennessee, we have a dual enrollment grant, so there's the potential you could even take those dual enrollment courses for free. So just wanna really highlight that because that is a change. In addition, if your student has done extremely well on the ACT or the equivalent on the ACT, they might be eligible for an addition to the Hope Scholarship. And this is we call it GAMS, the Tennessee General Assembly Merit Scholarship. And the student has to have a 29 on the ACT. So if your student has a 29 or above, they need to hop through one of these other hoops to get the GAMS scholarship. And the one is at least 4 dual enrollment courses with a 3.0, participate in a governor's school, 2 AP or advanced placements, or 1 CLEP, college level exam. And those have to be completed before graduation. So you can't like graduate in May and then take a CLEP in July and be eligible for the GAMS scholarship. The Hope and the GAMS is something that is awarded by the college. So that is something that Home Life Academy doesn't really do anything, aside from giving you that information. You will send your ACT scores directly to the college. You will send them your final transcript that has your graduation date on it, and then they will have the information that they need to include that in the award letter. Okay? So that's just kind of, I know it's a lot to go through, just wanted to kind of give you some things to start looking at, to start being aware of when you're planning for college. The fall is really busy with college stuff for most students. Applications are beginning to be open. Whoops. Applications are beginning to be open right now. So you definitely want to, think about gathering your materials and getting that stuff together and beginning the process. So, all right. So that is what I have. And I think Lonnie's been doing the questions. Are there anything else, Lonnie, that you think we need to talk about?
Okay. A couple of people have asked if you can somehow post your Word document at the end with all that wonderful information.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Right. So I will probably put that on there is a seniors Facebook page, and I'll post it there. So I will
okay. Diane, I was answering questions and doing all this. I did not hear you talk about the Community Foundation scholarships, which are awesome. And so, that's something you might want to check out. They usually, I think, they're pretty small, but I think they run from maybe 500 to 1,500, maybe more. But most communities have community foundation scholarships. They have like community foundation scholarships for Middle Tennessee, for example, for Palm Beach, Florida, for Texas, all over. So be sure and Google that. Now your student will have to write an essay, and they get tired of that, but lots of times they can write one essay and use it for a lot of different things. So that's something to check into. And then did you happen to mention the UT promise? For those Tennessee students who are interested in applying to UT Knoxville, Chattanooga, Martin, then they have their own UT promise that is a last dollar scholarship. So that's huge at the UT campuses. Be sure and check into that. And I have a email that I sent out to some moms where I've got all their information. Might need to be updated because I think it was from last year, but we could have some of that information as well if they want it.
Great.
Let's see. Now we got 5 new questions.
Okay.
Oh, these are just kind of comments. Will we have access to the Q&A after the webinar? Great info, but don't have time to read all of them. I think the recordings do not have the Q&As. Diane, can you remember?
Yeah, that's my understanding, is the recordings don't have the Q&A. So you are certainly welcome to email Lani or myself. So just, our first name, Diane at homelifeacademy.com, and Lani, Lani, at homelifeacademy.com. So if there's any questions that you've got, we can go ahead and do those. And I see Catherine, is there a way to find out our students' ranking? Yep, you can just put in a request for that in RM or in Request Manager, or you can just email Lani or I. And as long as we have their scores from their ACT or SAT, we'll be able to give you that information.
Okay, and Martha says that ETSU has a new promise as well, which we forgot to mention that.
Yes. Very good.
So again, pick these colleges. Most of the time you don't even have to call. They've got everything online. Go to their admissions. Again, we make sure your student is ready to graduate. We make all the recommendations that will cover you at most colleges. But, they might be applying to an international college. They might be applying to one of the military academies, and or especially like engineering schools. They may have more strict and rigid requirements. So we can't cover everything, you know, and again, we just kind of give you the information that we know, and then you check out the colleges and, you know, then you will be good.
Yes. So just a couple other things. I'm just going to throw out there. If your student is kind of academically minded, a lot of colleges have an honors program. I would at least check into that. And I can tell you one of the big benefits of that is priority registration after, you know, so when, you know, after their first semester, they're applying for their spring semester freshman year, and some of the classes start closing up, you know, or getting full. If you have priority registration, you kind of get in there before that happens. So you have a better chance of getting the schedule that you're interested in. So always ask those types of questions as well. Someone is asking about the common application. Is it better than applying individually? And, you know, I mean, either one I think is fine. I think when students have, you know, if they have a ton of colleges that they're applying for, sometimes it's just easier to do it all through the common app and get everything sent and write the one essay and write, you know, instead of doing everything individually and being able to track it through there. But, you know, we also have a lot of students who work directly and apply to the colleges, and we're happy to work with that also.
Okay, and we can put some of these links up too. Oh, she wants a link to the senior Facebook group. So, well, you can just search for that. I'll see if I can go ahead and pull that up right now. And then you want to answer Kat's question while I do that?
Okay, we just moved here in March. We're still under the homeschool in our previous. Does that affect our availability? Okay, yeah, and Kat, I'd probably have to look. I don't off the top of my head remember how long. It's usually a year that you have to have residency in order to do that. So sometimes what some students will do is they'll do a fifth senior year, or not a fifth, they'll do a second senior year and be a 5-year high school student to make sure that they get their residency, and then maybe do some dual enrollment or other courses during that time. But usually it's a year for those. Okay. And any other questions? I think Lonnie's looking for the Facebook page for the seniors.
Oh, goodness.
I think it starts with 2020.
Yeah, it's our new one should be 2021, 22, but I don't know if we've got that one up yet. It might still be under. I haven't checked lately. Have you?
Yeah, I did verify. It's up now.
Okay.
So
let's see if I can find it.
So 2021. Yeah, so it's 2021-2022 HLA seniors and grads.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so that's the name of the group. And but it's just recently went up. There's not a lot on there yet, but I'll be posting some of this stuff on there, and Lani posts a lot on there also as we hear and get notified of different opportunities. And then also, depending on COVID, you know, things change, so that's another reason to kind of make sure that you're keeping up to date on some of these deadlines and requirements as well.
Oh, here's something too, Diane.
Yep.
Don't forget to read those newsletters we send out every month.
Yes.
Read those through and through if you've got a junior or senior, because all the yearbook stuff for our digital yearbook. And, you know, at the end of the year, I've always got some moms who are going, where's my student? They're not in the yearbook. And it's like, did you send us anything? And they, you know, well, you've got to read those newsletters. It's going to tell you how to submit everything, the shout outs, the pages, everything in there. And then your student will be in the yearbook. But they also have links, and they have the deadlines, and they have the reminders, and they have all stuff is in those newsletters.
Exactly. Great. All right. Okay, perfect. We've got that posted now, a link to the Facebook group. Did you post that, or was that Jay maybe?
Maybe Jay did.
Okay, all right. So that's posted there now too. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So again, we appreciate your time today. I mean, this is an exciting time. lots of decisions. I'm going to just say a last word here too. It is easy to get like analysis paralysis, I think they call it, where you're like, oh, I could do this, I could do, and your student can just spiral into, I don't know what's the best choice. And I know one thing that I ended up telling my son, and I've told other people too, you know, you're trying to make a good decision of where you want to go to college. But number one, people change colleges all the time. Okay, so that does happen. That's a reality. It's not the end of the world. The other thing I reminded my son was that, and there's no perfect college. Everything has pros and cons. Everything has good things and everything has its challenges. So look at it as it's not like there's one shining answer for you. You are going to go someplace and you're going to work hard, and you know, you could succeed at a variety of different places, and there's not going to be a right wrong answer really when it comes down to that process. And I think sometimes that helps take a little of the pressure off to remind students of that. Right. Any other last thoughts, Lani?
Let's see. I'm emailing something. I'm answering something about Tennessee scholars.
Okay.
That's something that's on our website. And so, you know, it is something that if your student qualifies, it's not really hard to qualify for. 80 hours of volunteer is probably the toughest thing. But some colleges do give scholarships, and you get a wonderful award, a medallion, and you know, the notice on the what am I trying to say? Is it on the diploma as well? It might be on the diploma, but on the transcript.
Yes.
So it's a neat thing, and I'm putting the link here. So
Perfect.
I think that's it. And you can always, like Diane said, always email us. I am always phasing out of stuff, but I'm always here if you need me to help Diane out. So
Yes.
awesome.
That sounds great. All right. Well, we're going to end it today. Y'all know how to get in touch with us, and don't forget to take some time to enjoy your senior this year as well. So y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.